Hey, sorry it took a little while to get in, a few technical difficulties with connecting, but I'm here now. So we'll wait around for a few more people to come in, then I'll get started so we can get this going and y'all can be ready to go. Okay? Hey, David. Hey, Jaylee. Hi, Sydney. Hi, Dylan. Now, y'all know this is the live for my geometry class. So my people who are in algebra, this really is not going to apply to you. You're going to have your next algebra live lesson tomorrow. So I mean, you can stay if you want to, but you don't have to. Hi, hi. We'll get started in just a little bit. And Sydney, I changed the background for you since you didn't like my butterflies in the background. See if any get started. Just letting y'all know, if you have gone into the remote learning spreadsheet, it has the notes paper I'm using today. It's the circle equations one. It's a link, it's a hyperlink. So you should be able to go there and see the assignment, like from the questions that I'm gonna be doing. So I'm gonna do some of the example here on the wall, and then see if you have any questions as I'm going through the examples. But we'll give a couple more minutes because I don't want to be too long in the intro before we get going. I hope you all have had a good past 2 days. I know being at home is a little different, but we gotta make it work. Okay. Um, so if it's saying you need permission, that means you're using the first set of links I sent, and you need to use you're using the second set of links, you need to use the first set of links. I'm really having to use two computers right now because the other one wouldn't let me go live, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. That's why I was detained and going live with you all. Let's see. Because there are two documents that should be there. We'll make this real quick. David, let me just send it to you on Remind because we need to get started. Okay, I just sent it to you on Remind, so you should be getting it shortly. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with what we're going to talk about today. If you're ever looking for the stuff that's on the calendar that I have for you all as far as the instruction schedule, the notes, and then I always put a link to the live lesson that we just did, excuse me, on here. So we're going to get started with the circle equations. We've been doing circle equations in class before you left. So basically, all we're doing now is just taking the information we know about circles and applying it. So circle equation, we know we're going to use x minus h squared, quantity squared, plus y minus k, quantity squared, equals r squared. That's the general equation. We've been using the standard equation for the equation of a circle. All we're doing now is we have 2 points that we know are either on the circle or a point inside the circle or a point on the circle, and you're trying to determine the equation of the circle. So for the equation of a circle, remember you have to have the radius and you have to have a center, all right? So you have to have a radius and you have to have a center to get the equation of a circle. So our first problem that's on the notes page that we're going to do is example 1. Says if you're given the center, we know the center point is going to be 13, negative 10, and a point on the circle, 16, negative 6. Find the radius of the circle and find the equation of the circle, right? So we talked about it. All the links to all the notes are in the messages that I sent out. So please, please, please go look there. It's under the schedule, all right? So you can have it there, all right? When I'm going through the problems, you can always come back and rewatch the video. I did upload the link to the remote learning information in Google Classroom, but I did not do anything separately. It's going to take you straight to the information. So either you can use the link in Google Classroom to get to the information, or you can just use the links I sent on Remind. All right. So back to the problem. We want to find the radius of the circle and we want to find the equation of the circle. All right. So the first thing we need to find is the radius. We need to find how long this is. We reviewed it in class last week, the distance formula. So just to remind you of that, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And you take the square root of it. We just can't do, of course, Pythagorean theorem here because we're not on a coordinate plane where we can just draw this triangle out here. So we'll need to find the distance between the center point and the point of the circle. And that would tell us the radius. All right. So just going to plug in here, x2, x1, y2, y1. So I'm going to label those as my x1 and x2, y1 and y2. And I'm going to use those values here and substitute them into my distance formula right here. So we're going to have the square root of x2, 13, minus 16 squared, plus y2, which is negative 10, minus negative 6, which is y1 squared. Right? Any questions or anything I said thus far? Any questions, anybody? All right, so then we're just gonna put it in the calculator to get our answer. So we're just gonna, you can throw all that in the calculator at one time. If you wanna do it separately, that's perfectly okay. But I'm gonna do it all at once. So the square root of 13 minus 16, quantity squared, plus y2 minus y1, so negative 10 minus negative 6. So then that's going to tell me that the radius of this circle, sorry, I'm going back and forth between the calculator and my screen, so I apologize for that. All right, so we know the radius of this circle is going to end up being 5. All right, so the radius of the circle is 5. All right, so we're just going to take that. We know our radius. We know the center is 13, negative 10. So now we can write the equation of this circle because we know the radius is 5. So now our equation is going to be x minus h. So x minus 13 squared plus y minus k. y minus negative 10, which is going to end up being positive 10, squared, equals r squared. R squared is 5, so 5 squared, which is 25, okay? I just wrote it as 5 squared because I ran out of space, but you would just write 25 when you're doing your equation there, all right? So x minus 13 plus y plus 10 equals 5 squared, which is 25. Any questions about that? All right, if there are no questions, then I'll go on and go to example number 2. All right, this is still on the notes paper. Still, if you're given 2 points on the circle, they want us to find this now, okay? So on example 2, you have your circle. All right. So on example 2, I see more people responding. Thank you, y'all. Look, if I ask a question, please just say like yes or no, or if I ask for something specific, so I know if you're connected still, because the last one we did, 2 points that are on the circle this time, you don't have a center. So you have 2 points that are on the circle, right? And it tells you if you still need permission, use the second set of links I sent. Y'all, come on. I've sent this out multiple times. Go in Google Classroom and go from there, or go through Remind and get the link stuff from there, all right? So you have the point 5, 16, and you have the point negative 70, right? And so we have those 2 points on the circle, and we need to find the center. So based on the information, we have to assume that that one is a diameter of the circle, right? So we're going to assume that this line is the diameter of the circle. So otherwise, if it wasn't, we couldn't really do anything with the information that we have. So let's just think about it. If I know the diameter of the circle and I want to find the center of the circle, if you have the diameter and you want to find the center, what do you think? What formula do you think you might use for the center? Because you have distance formula, you have midpoint formula, we did partition, we did all that. So which formula do you think we use? Distance, midpoint, or partition? And if you're not sure, you can just say, I'm not sure. So what I was saying was you have 2 points on a circle that are on the diameter of the circle, and you need to find the center. We need to know what the center of the circle is. So the question is, which one should we use to find the center? Distance, midpoint, or partition? So I got 2 people that say midpoint. Anyone else chime in with an idea what we should use? Okay, all right. Midpoint, all right, that's correct. We're gonna use the midpoint formula. So midpoint formula is on your notes page, but we're just gonna write it on the screen. So remember, midpoint formula, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. And remember, when you're doing it, you have to make sure you write it as a pair, okay? Coordinate pair. Don't just write one number and then another number, right? So we're gonna do midpoint. So when we're doing midpoint, remember x1, y1, x2, y2. Remember, it doesn't matter about the order. This could be x1, y1, x2, y2. That doesn't matter, all right? So we're just gonna plug into the midpoint formula. So 5 plus negative 7 divided by 2, comma, 16 plus 0 divided by 2, 5 plus 7. I wrote 5 plus 7, all right? And so when we're figuring this out, 5 plus negative 7 is negative 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. comma, 16 plus 0 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So the center point of that circle is going to be the point -1, 8. So we know our center is the point -1, 8. That's the center of this circle. That's our point. Okay. Any questions? Any questions on this? Okay, any questions on how we found the center of the circle? Given 2 points? No. Yeah, I know there's going to be some lag. All these people are using internet and Wi-Fi. It's going to be very interesting to see how it's all going to be handled. All right, so you know the midpoint, right? The next question it asks you to find is the radius of the circle. And it says it suggests you use the diameter, the length of the diameter divided by 2. So we'll just do that over taking the radius and using, the center point and using that. So to find the radius, we're just going to take the length of the diameter and divide it by 2. So I know these endpoints of the circle represent the diameter of the circle. And just like we did on the first problem, if I want to find the length of something, I'm going to use the distance formula again. All right. So once again, distance formula is x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. And we're just going to substitute in those points we have on the diameter of the circle, not the center this time. You could use a center and a point on the circle, but just for accuracy purposes, use the points that you were given originally over using the point you found. Because if you made an error when you found a center point, then you could potentially get an error in your radius, and then it would just mess up the rest of the problem. All right. So same thing, x2 minus x1. So -7 minus 5 squared plus 0 minus 16 squared. Put this in the calculator. So that is 12 squared plus 16 squared. Okay. So we're going to find out that the radius of the diameter of this circle is going to be 20. So we found the diameter here, all right? But it wants us to find the radius. So you know the diameter here is 20. To find your radius, is telling you take your diameter answer and divide it by 2. So we take our diameter and divide it by 2. We're going to find out the radius. Okay, any questions there? Of the circle. So remember the general, our standard form for the equation of a circle, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Remember, h and k are the center and r is the radius. So we're going to do x minus the center point. X value is -1, so x minus -1 squared, which is going to end up being +1, plus y minus k squared, which is going to be 8, equals r squared, where r squared is going to, of course, going to be 100. And that is going to be the equation of the circle. So we found the center by doing midpoint. We found the radius by doing the distance formula of the diameter and dividing. And then we found the equation of the circle by taking the center and radius that we found and plugging in. Any questions? Okay, so we'll kind of do a vote. You can look on the notes paper if you have it pulled up while you're listening or while you're watching. Do y'all want to do one where you have the center and the radius and you write the equation? Or do you want to do one where you have the diameter and you write the equation? Because we'll just do one more because it's basically the same stuff the whole way through. So vote for center and radius or diameter. Which one do you want to do? So basically one like example 1 or one like example 2. What do you think you may need? Okay. All right, so you're saying one like example 1, center and radius. Okay, I see diameter, I see diameter. All right, anybody else got an opinion? Diameter, diameter, okay. All right, so like diameters are gonna win based on the number of people who responded. So we'll look at the page where it says number 4, where it says endpoints of the diameter. That's the one we're gonna do. All right, so we're gonna look at number 4. I know the endpoints of the diameter are -10, 5, and 16, -1. All right, this is number 4 on the like note sheet, okay? So remember, you have 2 points that are on the circle that form the diameter, all right? We need to find the center of the circle so we can write the equation of the circle, and we need to find the radius of the circle. So if you want to find the center and you know the diameter, would you use midpoint, would you use distance, or would you use partition if you want to find the center of the circle? Anybody got an idea? You want to find the center point of the circle. Okay. Yeah, midpoint. So we're going to use midpoint formula again. That's correct. So we're going to take these and plug them into the midpoint formula. So remember that is x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. And so this will be my x1, y1, x2, y2. So substitute that in. So we're going to have -10 plus 16 over 2, comma, 5 plus -1 over 2. -10 plus 16 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 5 plus -1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. So the center point of this circle is going to be the point 3, 2. Right? So we got the center by using midpoint formula, right? Second thing we need to do is we need to find the radius because that's what we're missing here. So just like we did on the other problem, we need to find, we're going to use the endpoints of the diameter where we're finding the length and divide it by 2 because we want it to be as accurate as possible. This is an accurate number that you can check it, but it's just to make sure your answers won't end up being incorrect, all right? So we're going to take the endpoints of the diameter and substitute it into the distance formula, just like we've done on each problem. On each problem, no matter, we're going to end up using the distance formula if you have to find a distance, so like a radius or a diameter or something like that. Okay. So remember, distance formula is going to be the square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. X2, we know it's going to be 16 minus -10 squared plus -1 minus 5 squared. So I can just put it in the calculator. 26 squared plus 6 squared. $36. All right, so when we plug that in, y'all, I want y'all to try this. What do you get here? You substitute in the distance formula. You do 16 minus 10 squared plus the -1 minus 5 squared. What value do you get for that length? Anybody got a number? All right, I see 1. Who do you agree with? All right, so I think some of you probably aren't wanting to answer because you put it in the calculator and you're like, what? I didn't get a whole number. Anybody not get a whole number? You got a decimal? I see 2 people who got decimals. Anybody else not get a whole number? You got a decimal. Okay, so silence. So when you put this in the calculator, you take the square root. So that's going to be 26 squared plus 6 squared, which is going to be about 712. And then you take the square root of that number, you're going to get approximately 26.68. Approximately for the diameter of that circle. Remember, we want to get the radius of the circle. We want to get the radius of that circle. So that's diameter. To find the radius, we have to divide this number by 2. So we're going to take 26.68 and divide it by 2. And we're going to find out our radius is approximately 13.4. 13.34. Approximately. Okay. And so now we can write the equation of the circle. So it's going to be x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 13.34 squared. All right. Any questions about any step in that problem? Anyone have any questions? Any confusion? Anything needs to be re-explained or done differently for you to understand? I know it's a little different because we're not in class. Okay, I got one. Nope. Anybody else say yep? Okay. All right, Jessica. What's your question? Is 16 minus negative 10. The 10 in the problem is negative. Because the 10 in the problem is already negative. So it's x2 minus x1. So 16 minus negative 10 gives us positive 10. So 16 plus 10 is 26. And so that's how we get 26 squared. Does that answer that for you? Okay. Anybody else had a question? All right. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. You have to be careful with those signs. Please make sure you're paying attention to if it's a negatives, your negatives and positive signs, because if you don't, it's going to change the answer dramatically. Earlier, it's going to be wrong later, and then it's just going to trickle down the rest of the problem. Yeah, so you can like go ahead and form this as an addition sign, those two negatives. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions about the problems, equations, find the equation. When you got 2 points, sometimes they're going to give you the radius and the center, and you just write the equation. It may just give you the picture of the circle and it with the center, and you find the radius and so on from there. But that's all to it for the rest of what your assignment is for today. Like I said, 2 attempts. Also, at 2:45, you want to be on the Google Meet. So if as you're working and you have a question or you need more clarification about what we did today or what I showed in the live video, you can go in Google Meet and we can talk about it there. And also this video I'm going to post in the schedule, so you will have it there. All right. So anybody have any general questions about class stuff that needs to be clarified or cleared up for you? If not, we'll go ahead and end live if there are no questions, just in general about if you have any questions about classwork. Yeah, Google Meet's gonna start in about 10 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, we'll usually start at 1:45 for class, but I was having some technology issues, so I couldn't start it at 1:45. So that's why I was like 1:55. Okay, so if you're good, y'all, I'm going to end this. And then we'll be in Google Meet, and you can ask me some questions if you're still confused about anything. All right. Thank y'all for coming.